Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hey! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen! This is the GSMC Football Podcast, and as you can tell, I am a very happy person. My Atlanta Falcons have found their head coach. Woo! Arthur Smith, welcome to Atlanta, Mr. Smith. Let it sink in. That's right, Julio. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. Hope everyone enjoyed the little intro here. I couldn't hold my excitement in anymore. I had to spread the love. Julio Jones is going to be happy. Matt Ryan is going to be happy. Calvin Ridley is going to be happy. And Falcons fans all across the world, you guys should be happy because we hit on the guy that we all wanted, Mr. Arthur Smith, the guy that has taken Ryan Tannehill from bust to Pro Bowl, the guy who has taken Derrick Henry from 50 yards a game rushing to 2,000 yards a game in the season. Welcome, Mr. Smith, to the ATL. Woo! I am ecstatic. I hope you guys are all having a great day. And look, all around, all of these teams out here, majority of these teams out here that just hired head coaches, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the New York Jets, these are great hires. Really good hires when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, and I'm going to explain to you guys exactly why that is. I'm going to explain why I'm so ecstatic about my Atlanta Falcons making this hire, and man, it's a happy day. It's a happy day. It should be a happy day down in Jacksonville. It should be a happy day down in New York. It should be a happy day down in Atlanta, or I should say up in New York and down in Atlanta. Once again, this is the GSMC Football Podcast. The GSMC Football Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Go and check it out. Seriously, a lot of great content. I am your host, Kayvon. Need to get that in there one more time because I had to start off the show that way. It's really is. See, this is the thing. Jets fans, Jaguars fans, you guys are on a different level. So, and I'm not saying that in terms of hate, but you guys have picked in the top 5 pretty consistently over the last years or so. The Falcons, this is the first time picking in the top 5 when it comes to draft position since 2008, which, by the way, is when we drafted Matt Ryan. So we're not always in this situation, but where we are in a situation of it's kind of like in that NFL purgatory, right? It's like where you're not one of the worst teams in the league, but you're also not one of the best, and that's unfortunate. So you don't really want to be in that slow quicksand territory because you get hope. You get hope because you see all the pieces, you see all the talent, you play games like the Falcons did a bit against Kansas City, against Tampa Bay, where they're winning and then they end up losing the game, and it gives you hope, and it says, see, we're right there on the cusp. But really, you're not unless you make the right moves. like the Cleveland Browns did with hiring Kevin Stefanski. See, NFL, ladies and gentlemen, is one of those sports where hiring the right coach completely can change the trajectory of your franchise. I mean, I'm not kidding. It can take you from being an awful, losing franchise to winning a playoff game, like the Cleveland Browns did. I mean, look, the Cleveland Browns, they haven't even been able to smell the playoffs for 10 plus years. Kevin Stefanski comes in. They had this much talent last year. They had every single piece that they had, other than a couple of key pieces like bringing in Austin Hooper, who really they haven't done much with all season long, and fixing up the offensive line a little bit. They still had all of this talent. They had the running backs. They had the wide receivers. They had pieces on defense. But Kevin Stefanski came in with his game plan, with his scheme, and he turned it all around. And that is so, so crucial. He brought in a culture, he brought in a philosophy, and the players have bought in. And that's key. And we're going to get so deep into all of this, some on this show, but also in shows in the future, because we have a lot to talk about with playoffs and the games, and again, it's the division round. I mean, there is so much excitement going on right now in the world of the NFL and the world of sports too, but specifically the NFL. We've got 4 great games on tap today and tomorrow. It is Saturday, January 16th, coming at you guys live from Raleigh, North Carolina. Wherever you are, however you're listening, wherever you're listening, we thank you so much for just taking a little bit of part of your day to tune into us. It really is awesome. So in terms of what we have on tap today, 4:35 kickoff, Los Angeles Rams taking on the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. Packers are going to have some fans there, which is cool. And then the night game, one of the best games of the weekend. The Baltimore Ravens getting over the hump. Lamar Jackson getting his first playoff win of his career against the Buffalo Bills, who really got over the hump. Getting their first playoff win since what? I think it was since 1995, I want to say, 1994, 1995. So that's 1995. So that's huge. They're back at home. Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, 2 quarterbacks that went in the 2018 draft class. Josh Allen going number 7 overall to the Bills. Lamar Jackson going number 32 overall to the Ravens. There's one more QB that's in that 2018 draft class as well. He is playing on Sunday. He is Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns versus Kansas City, Pat Mahomes, the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. And then to cap it all off, my favorite game of the weekend, the game that I am going to be looking forward to the most, the NFC South, representing, obviously not a big Saints fan. We got a big rivalry going on there, Falcons and Saints, but it's going to be a really interesting one. Tom Brady's lost twice already to the Saints. Will it be 3 in a row? Sean Payton, he's got a great game plan going against Tom Brady. What they did the first 2 games really makes sense of why they won. If you look at it, they did what has always been an issue against Tom Brady when he loses games, how the Giants beat him in the Super Bowl. It's because you get pressure to him without bringing the blitz. With your front, if you can get pressure with your normal pass rushers, then hey, you got a chance to win that game. You make Tom Brady uncomfortable. You give him no time to throw the ball. Now, I will say this. The Buccaneers' offensive line has gotten way better since the last time these two teams played. Also, everyone's talking about, they beat him twice. Well, one of those games was week 1. It was literally the first game that Tom Brady has played with another team other than New England in the last 20 years. They had no offseason, no preseason to work together, to gel together. All that. You got to throw that game out. Now, the second game was ugly. The Saints really took it to him. Beat the crap out of them. It was on Sunday or Monday Night Football, and it was just a domination in Tampa Bay. So there, you got to give a lot of credit to Sean Payton and the Saints there. Their game plan was perfect. They executed it to perfection, and the Bucs' game plan was nowhere near as good, and they were not able to execute it to perfection. So the matchups within the matchups. We always talk on this show, I can give you predictions, and I always will. I'll give you guys my spread picks, my favorite picks, betting-wise and all that stuff. I always give that type of advice, but when we break down a game, I always talk about, let's look at the matchups within the matchups, right? Always talk about that stuff. And the matchups within this matchup that you got to look at, that you got to really dive into here is Sean Payton versus Bruce Arians, okay? So far in the first two games, Sean Payton has outcoached Bruce Arians. Can Bruce Arians get Sean Payton this time, all right? Can he work with his offensive line, get them going a little bit better, run some better concepts to get the ball out of Brady's hands quicker, quick throws, don't worry about long routes forming, get the ball out, slant passes, curl passes, dump it off to the running back. Try and get the ball running on this Saints defense. That's the one thing. Both of these teams have really good defenses, okay? The Bucs haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher almost all year. The Saints have only allowed like 1 or 2 100-yard rushers all year. So when it comes to those two defenses, they're both two of the best defenses in the league. The Bucs D, as of late, has not been as good as the Saints D. The Bucs D has been struggling a little bit. We'll see if Todd Bowles, defensive coordinator for the Bucs, can get them back on top, back going towards the right direction. But really, another match. So that's the first one. I look for Sean Payton versus Bruce Arians. How do they react within the game? How do they out-game plan each other? How do their players execute their game plan? And then coming out of halftime, how do they change up their game plan? The second one, Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore. Everyone's been talking all week how Marshawn Lattimore has completely owned Mike Evans in this matchup. He's just shut him down every single time they play pretty much. In 13 games versus the Saints, Evans averages 51 yards per game. 51 yards per game. Against all other opponents, he's averaging at least 81 yards per game. I think this year he's had 20 targets and only 9 catches. 20 targets when playing against Marshawn Lattimore and only 9 catches for completion percentage for Brady for like 45 yards. It's been bad. I mean, he just hasn't been able to get loose against Marshawn Lattimore for whatever reason. So I look for either two things. One, can Mike Evans break that? Now, he is a little bit injured. Remember, he's a little bit injured. He was he hurt his leg going into or during the final game of the season against the Falcons. He ended up playing against Washington in the wild card round. He said he was about 50%, 60%. He played well. Now he says he's hoping to be closer to 100% in this game. I don't know. I mean, will he be able to break free? Will he be more of a decoy? So Antonio Brown, I really look for Antonio Brown here to have a big, big game, right? Okay, because if Antonio Brown can have a big game, it opens things up for everyone else. Chris Godwin in the middle, underneath in the slot there. They'll move Antonio Brown like crazy, and then we'll see if that opens up Mike Evans a little bit. But I do think that Brady's going to target Evans. He's not going to shy away. He's not one of those quarterbacks that isn't going to go towards his number one receiver just because they have a really good quarterback on him. No, I think Mike Evans understands the history. I think Mike Evans understands that he hasn't gotten that Marshawn Lattimore has gotten the best against him, and I think he's going to try and prove people wrong that he can take on this matchup well. But I do think that this is setting up for Antonio Brown to have a big, big game. The last couple of games, he's scored a touchdown in, I think, 4 straight games now. He's starting to get more comfortable with Brady. Brady's starting to get a better rapport with him. He's looking like he's in more shape. I really like the way Antonio Brown has been playing as of late, and I think he's going to be a big wild card in this matchup. All right, now, Michael Thomas, he caught a touchdown last week against the Bears. He's starting to get going a little bit. You remember, he was out the last 4 or 5 weeks due to an injury. He really has not played much at all this season. My opinion is this. If you look at the New Orleans Saints, their defense is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. But what it comes down to is, can you stop Alvin Kamara? If you can stop Alvin Kamara, then you have a good chance of shutting down this offense. Why? Because Drew Brees just can't sling it like he used to anymore. He just can't. He's not able to sling it the way that we know and love Drew Brees to do. You know that we've always, the Hall of Fame Drew Brees. He just doesn't have that arm anymore. So they do a lot of dink and dunk throws. They get the ball out of his hands quick. Tight end Jared Cook, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and a lot of dump offs to Alvin Kamara in the backfield, right? Out of the backfield there. So if you can stop Alvin Kamara from running the ball, because I'll tell you this right now, if the Bucs let Alvin Kamara run the ball all over them, they have zero chance of winning this game. They have absolutely zero chance of winning this game if they let Alvin Kamara run all over them. They have to stop the run. Luckily for them, they've been very good at that. They haven't allowed Alvin Kamara to run over 50 yards all year. Both times that they played him, Alvin Kamara was shut down. At least in the rushing game. He did something in the passing game, but rushing game, they really shut him down. So, look, Vegas has the Saints favored by 3. A lot of big-time, sharps, bettors, they like the Saints in this. They think the Saints can win this game. It'll be interesting, and we'll break it down a little bit more. I do know that it's going to be up to Tom Brady. He's going to have to be a surgeon. He's going to have to cut open that defense. That defense is sharp. And that defense is going to bring the house. They're going to blitz. They're going to bring pressure. They're going to try and attack the Bucs offensive line. It's going to be up to the Bucs offensive line and to Bruce Arians to draw up plays where he can get the ball out of Brady's hands quick and try and get that run game going as well. Because if they can get that run game going against this tough defense, that will open a lot of things up for the New Orleans Saints. So we'll see what happens here. It will be a very interesting game. It will be one of the best games of the weekend, and that's why the NFL put it as the last game on Sunday night on Fox, because they know that it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a really, really fun one. So can't wait for that. Again, got a great lineup of NFL games. We've got the Rams at the Packers, 4:35 Saturday. The Ravens at the Bills, 8:15 Saturday. And then we've got the Browns at the Chiefs, 3:05 Sunday. And the Buccaneers at the Saints, 6:40 Sunday. So get your popcorn ready, get your beer ready. A lot of fun to happen. And then outside of the games, what do we have going on here? Well, we've got a lot of coaching hires that are starting to fill. We said on the show last week that it kind of feels like every team is waiting for one domino to fall, right? They're waiting for one domino to fall. Can the Jacksonville Jaguars lock up Urban Meyer, get that out of the way? It seemed like Urban Meyer was almost a sure thing, and I don't know if he was just trying to run things over in his head a little bit more, or he was trying to put together a staff, but then things got caught up, and then now he's accepted the job. So we said once he accepted the job with the Jaguars, everything else would start to fall into place. And that's what happened, right? The Jaguars hired Urban Meyer as their head coach. Then a couple hours later, we see Robert Saleh gets the job with the Jets. And then by the next morning, we see a lot of steam is happening with Arthur Smith and the Falcons. They were going at it really late. I think it was Thursday night. And then by Friday morning, Arthur Smith canceled his second interview with the Detroit Lions because the Falcons weren't going to let him out of the building. And I don't mean that as in like they were holding him hostage. What happens is there's a term out there where you'll hear when these teams are hiring coaches where if a person really impresses them in the interview and they already like this person going into it and the person kind of assures them with how good they interview, there's this saying where you'll hear them say, well, we're not going to let this team out of the building. We're not going to let this person out of the building because you're worried if he leaves the building and gets on that plane to go interview with another team, you just lost your shot with him, right? You never know if that means you'll get another chance. So the Falcons didn't let him go back to Detroit for a second interview. They said, we want you. We're offering you the job. They let it out to the media so everyone knows that the Falcons want this guy. They offered him the job, and then now will he take it? Sure enough, he took it, and as a Falcons fan, I'm very happy about it. So what are we going to do now? We're going to go into segment number 2, and we're going to break down what is what does it mean for all of these coaching hires, okay? A lot of people get caught up in the X's and O's, in the specialty that these guys have. Did you hire an offensive guy? Did you hire a defensive guy? Is this a good hire? Is this a bad hire? You got to put all this away, and you have to look at one thing. I'm going to explain exactly what that is, and I'm going to explain why some of these teams did a really, really good job on these hires. I'm telling you, and I'm going to explain why. So for you Jags fans out there, for you Jets fans out there, for you Falcons fans out there, you're going to want to listen up to this, all right? And now we still have the Detroit Lions, who are looking to fill their head coaching job, and the Los Angeles Chargers. What are the rumors on that? Well, we'll talk about all of that right after this. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Zombie. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Zombie. The GSMC Football Podcast, as always, is brought to you by the great GSMC Podcast Network. Go and check it out. So much different type of content out there, guys. I mean, we're talking book reviews, movie reviews, business podcasts, financial podcasts, breaking news podcasts, MMA, fantasy football, soccer, you name it. GSMC has it. Go and check it out. All right, lots on tap today. Let's break it down. What are we talking about? What is going on? It's a Saturday, 1/16. This is episode 50 for your boy Kayvon Zombie here, and we are in the midst of a great NFL playoff season. So lots on tap. So we got game one, right? Green Bay Packers they're at home, taking on the visiting Los Angeles Rams. All right, in all cases here, Green Bay should win this game. The only way Green Bay doesn't win this game is if their offensive line is not able to keep Aaron Rodgers protected, if they're not able to give him enough time to sling that football around. If that pass rush of the Rams is decimated, because let's remember, Aaron Donald, even though he's a tough guy and even though he's going to play, he's not going to be 100%. I mean, I would almost bet anything that he doesn't play the entire game. He'll probably play about half of the snaps, maybe 70% of the snaps, and who knows how effective he'll actually be on those snaps as well. It could be much more of a decoy than anything, just because Aaron Donald out there, just being out there itself, is still a frightening sign for offenses and offensive coaches and offensive lines and all that stuff, all right? Like, honestly, 50% of Aaron Donald is probably better than half of the pass rushers in the league. Like, he is that good. So, if he is able to give it the normal Aaron Donald load, right? If he's able to put in the normal Aaron Donald that we can see, put out that type of effort, that type of execution, which helps the rest of the D-line, then the Rams have a chance in this game. Another thing the Rams cannot allow to happen, Jared Goff, he cannot turn the football over. Look, there's a lot of talk all this week how Jared Goff and Sean McVay are upset with each other, and they're kind of having this little internal battle between each other because McVay is showing all signs that he clearly doesn't want to start Goff, and Goff is over here saying, I'm healthy, I can go, why don't you start me? I just won the Seattle game for you, and it just kind of feels like McVay was using that thumb injury that Goff got at the end of the season to kind of change the tides with Goff, kind of like put him as the backup and move on from him. That's really what it was feeling like. Now, unfortunately, Walford got hurt. He got a pretty nasty concussion, so he will not be able to go, so it will be Goff. Goff has to play a very good game. If you guys remember earlier in the season, the Rams played in Tampa Bay on Monday night. They went into Tampa Bay, and they ended up beating the Bucs by, I think it was like 3 or 4 points. Goff played a fantastic game that night. He was on point with his throws. He was hooking up Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. If he can do that type of game and not turn the ball over, and then the Rams have played good defense like they have all season, they have a chance. But if Goff starts turning that ball over, there's no chance. There's no chance at all. That Rams defense can play amazing. They still will not beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers if they turn the ball over. Okay, that's something we for sure know. Now, it also depends on, what we're going to see from the matchups within the matchups. We always talk about that, right? 2 head coaches that know each other very well, 2 offensive-minded coaches, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay. They're going to be going at it all game. But Rodgers is on another level right now. This Rams defense is the best defense in the league. So this is for us fans, for us analysts, for us media members, for everyone at home watching this game. This is going to be a huge test to let us know how good the Green Bay Packers really are. What do I mean by that? If the Green Bay Packers come out and they dominate this game, and they win this game by 10, 12, 15 plus points, that tells me that they can win it all. And it's not because Los Angeles is this complete team and they're one of the best teams in the league. No, it's because how good their defense is. If you can line up a defense like that, you can win the Super Bowl. Because I promise you this, the Saints defense is good, very good. It's not the Rams defense. If they can light up the Rams defense, they will not see a defense the rest of the way that is as good as this Rams defense. They will not. Yes, if the Saints beat the Bucs, they'll see a good defense in the Saints, but it will not be what the Rams have. Okay, unless Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey are shipping over to New Orleans before that game, it will not be the same type of defense. So, if the Packers can light this game up, put up 28, 30, 35 points, win this game, the Packers are legit Super Bowl contenders. And look, I know most of you guys are saying, hey, they're the number 1 seed. No, of course they're legit Super Bowl contenders. And I get that. But the last couple of years, we have seen the Packers have great regular seasons and then not perform up to par in the playoffs. And it's starting to become a little trend. Now, this year feels a little bit different. Rodgers feels like he's on a mission. He's angry. He's pissed off because we all know what happened over the offseason with drafting Jordan Love, all that stuff. So it feels different this year. And this is a big, big test. They can go out and light them up. That's big. All right, so then we've got that game. Second game, Buffalo Bills, all right? At home, first home playoff game other than the one last week since like 1985, something like that, something crazy. They're taking on Lamar Jackson, who just got his first playoff win last week. This game, to me, is the hardest game to predict. It's a toss-up. I think that the Bills are the more complete team, but I think the Ravens have the more dangerous weapon. And what do I mean by that? Josh Allen is the better quarterback because he's the more complete quarterback. But the Bills' defense, their run game, is an issue. They cannot stop the run. They haven't been able to stop the run all season long. What do the Ravens do best? They run the heck out of that football. They run that football with their schemes, their concepts, the way they do it with J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson. They run the football better than anyone else in the league. Can Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator of Buffalo, Sean McDermott, the head coach of Buffalo, can they find a way to slow that down? If they can slow that run game down, the Bills will win this game. If they cannot slow the run game down, the Ravens will win this game because the Ravens have the better special teams. They have the more experienced playoff coach in John Harbaugh. Sean McDermott's a fantastic coach, but John Harbaugh has done this many times. He is has the most playoff road wins by any active coach in the league right now. I think it's like 8 I saw, which is very, very impressive. Okay, so Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs could put on a show, and they could win this game easily. There's no doubt. I mean, if they won this game by 10, 15 points, I would not be shocked. But I do think the Ravens and that running attack is going to be really hard for the Bills to stop. With that being said, I know the Ravens have a good defense, but I also think stopping Josh Allen is going to be really tough because he's playing great football right now. So that's a big toss-up game to me. I lean towards the Ravens, but wouldn't be shocked either way. That's the 2 Saturday games. Sunday games. We've got Cleveland Browns coming off really one of the biggest and most remarkable, important wins in the franchise history of Cleveland against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl defending champions, right? So the Chiefs, this is where the Chiefs lie, okay? The Chiefs are a team that, when playing their best football, is clearly the best team in all of the NFL, and I don't even think it's that close. But that's the key, what I said there. When playing their best football. We have not seen them play their best football in a long time. The last time we saw all their starters out on the field, they almost lost to the Atlanta Falcons. If A.J. Terrell almost makes that really nice catch in the end zone, that interception, game over. Then remember, they rested their starters week 17 against the Chargers. So this will be 3 weeks now where Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, all those guys have not played. So will they be rusty? Or are they going to be able to turn on the switch? It's that thing that we talk about all the time. LeBron James and his basketball teams, they're always able to turn on a switch come playoff time. That's what the Chiefs are planning on doing here. That's what the Chiefs are hoping they can do. Can that happen? Can they turn on the switch that easy? Or is it going to be another situation that we saw last year? Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson comes in, fresh off a playoff win. The Chiefs are on a bye. They haven't played. They're a bit rusty. The Texans come in. They go up 24-0, and it takes a remarkable, historic run by Patrick Mahomes in that offense to come back, and they ended up easily winning the game, which is even more remarkable. But that's going to be the big question there because, yes, the Browns just had a huge win, and a lot of people think after a win like that, you're set up for a letdown. I disagree. I think that they are so well coached. I think Kevin Stefanski, again, he is my coach for Coach of the Year. I think he is such a good coach, such a disciplined coach, a coach that will stick to his practices, to his concepts of running the football. I think that they have every recipe where they could win this game. I do not think they will win this game. I think the Chiefs will be able to turn on that switch and end up beating them pretty handily, actually. But if the Chiefs cannot turn that switch on, then the Browns are live to win this football game. And I mean live because how do you beat the Chiefs? We've talked about this so much, ladies and gentlemen. There's a couple ways to beat the Chiefs. How do you do it? One, you either have to go toe-to-toe with their offense and just score. I mean, literally outscore them in a shootout. Or two, you have to be able to run the football and keep their secret weapon, Patrick Mahomes, on the sideline as much as possible. That is the key. Now, you also have to have a defense that can make sacks and turnovers. Because look, at the end of the day, and I've said this before, even though the last couple of weeks the Chiefs offense has been like the Falcons, they only let the Chiefs score 14 points on them or something like that. At the end of the day, in the playoffs, the Chiefs are going to get theirs. They're going to score points, okay? You're not going to hold them to 14 or 20 points. They're going to score their 28, 35 points. They are. That's just what the Chiefs do. So you're going to have to score in that 28 to 35 range, and you're going to have to make critical stops and critical turnovers by your defense when time comes, right? You're going to have to get that sack. You're going to have to get that fumble. You're going to have to get that interception. You're going to have to win the turnover battle, and it's going to have to be key turnovers that then you actually execute and cash that in for touchdowns on the offensive side. Does that make sense? Because last week, when they were playing the Steelers, the Cleveland Browns I'm talking about here, when they were playing the Steelers, what did they do? Fumble recover, touchdown. Interception, touchdown. Interception, touchdown. When they got interceptions, when they got turnovers, they got touchdowns. They didn't settle for field goals. They didn't go 3 and out and punt it away. No, they got touchdowns. They have to do that exact same thing if they want to win this football game. And if they get up early, like they did against the Steelers, Chiefs fans, I wouldn't worry. Because, remember, the Steelers came back, and the Steelers' offense is not even comparable to the Chiefs' offense. So, I won't be freaking out if the Chiefs get down early. They're a team that starts out slow anyways. If they can get up, if they can get down early, I would pump the brakes. Now, it's if they can get down late and see if Mahomes can push it all and come back. That's going to be the key. And then you have the big night game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints. I think that this is probably the biggest game of the weekend. And probably the most entertaining game of the weekend in terms of storylines, right? So, what do I mean by that? I mean, it's obvious. You got the two old geezers going at it. You got Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, New Orleans, and Drew Brees. A lot of people believe that this is Drew Brees' last game ever playing in the NFL. If he loses, this is his last season. Is that something that could actually happen? So can Tom Brady end Drew Brees' career on a down note? Or can Drew Brees keep the buck rolling and end his career on possibly heading into the sunset on a championship, just like Peyton Manning did? Just like John Elway did back in the day. Can he do that? That's not many people have been able to end their career walking away with a championship. Only a couple. John Elway, Peyton Manning. So can that change? Can Drew Brees lead this team to a Super Bowl victory? Because he only has one. And he only has one Super Bowl appearance. It was back in 2009. That remarkable Super Bowl after Katrina and all that stuff. They haven't been back. This would be huge for Drew Brees' career. On the other end, you got Tom Brady. What's the whole thing about him? 20 years, all with Bill Belichick. 6 rings, all with Bill Belichick. Is it Bill Belichick? Is it Brady? Who was more important to that dynasty? Well, right now, the New England Patriots are sitting at home. Bill Belichick will be watching this game from his couch, just like you and I, right? So Brady, he already won a playoff game. He already took a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2007 to the playoffs in his first year without Belichick. So Brady's already got the leg up in this debate. If he could then go into New Orleans, a 12-4 football team, a team that has beat them twice already, and lead this Bucs team to the NFC Championship game, man, even if he loses in that NFC Championship game against the Packers, he would have a huge leg up in the debate for getting this team over the hump into the playoffs for the first time since 2007, getting them a playoff win, not just one, but 2. Because right now, yeah, they got a playoff win, but everyone looks at it like they beat the 7-9 Washington football team, who was a good team, and really they were about 5-1 with Alex Smith, but Alex Smith didn't play in that game, right? It was Taylor Heineke. So these are all big debates, or big answers that we can kind of get with these debates after this game. It's going to be huge, and I'm telling you this right now for Bucs fans that are listening. If you guys want to win this game, there's one thing that you have to do. It's a must. And that is stopping Alvin Kamara. If you guys let Alvin Kamara, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers let Alvin Kamara rush for more than 80, 100 yards, game over. No shot to win at all. Because if you stop Alvin Kamara, you really slow down this offense. Look, it's no secret. Drew Brees cannot throw the ball down the field as well as he used to be. His arm is older. It's not as strong, right? Michael Thomas is playing, but he's been banged up all season. Other than that, they've got Jared Cook, who's a decent tight end, and Emmanuel Sanders. They don't have much weapons, especially in correlation to what the Bucs have. The Bucs offense trounces the Saints offense, okay? But the problem is the Saints defense is way better than the Bucs defense. The Saints defense is going to be crucial to this game. But the biggest piece to this game will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line. I will bet you guys anything. If Tampa Bay's offensive line can keep Tom Brady upright, can keep him from getting sacked numerous times, giving him time to throw the football and time to let his receivers finish their routes. If they can do that, Tampa Bay wins this game. And honestly, Tampa Bay wins this game easily. If they can't do that, and if New Orleans is in Tom Brady's face every single time he snapped the ball, and if Bruce Arians is trying to do all these deep routes instead of just short crossovers, slants, curls, dump off out of the backfield, all that stuff, the Bucs will lose this game. It's going to come down to one simple thing. Well, two, I guess, but one mainly. The offensive line of the Bucs, can they keep Tom Brady upright? And Bruce Arians. Can he let Tom Brady get the ball out of his hands? I know Bruce Arians is all about no risk it, no biscuit, throwing the ball down the field, just flying that thing. He's got to change it up. To start the game at least, he's got to let Brady get the ball quick because this defensive line by the Saints is no joke. And if he holds that ball for too long, he's done. He's going to get sacked. This Bucs offensive line can be the best in the league. Eventually, that team is going to get pressure on Brady. It's got to be quick throws, down the middle, down the seam, towards the outside, get it out of his hands, move forward. That's what it's going to have to be. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. All right, that's the end of segment 2. I just wanted to do a quick rundown of all the 4 games, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into segment 3, and we're going to spend that segment on what's happening outside of the playoffs, right? So what's happening with the new coaching hires, the new GM hires? How do we like the new coaching hires? How do we like the new GM hires? What's going on with Deshaun Watson? And I'm going to tell you guys something very, very interesting about what it means to hire a head coach and what these owners should be looking for when they hire these head coaches instead of what they have been looking at, okay? I'm telling you, you're going to want to hear this. Then we'll go back into segment 4 and talk more about these games. Don't go anywhere. This is the GSMC Football Podcast.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. Had some great discussions today already. Two segments down. I mean, we are flying. We're flying through this show. It goes quick for me. I don't know how it feels for you guys listening, but I mean, next thing I know, I look up, I'm 15, 20 minutes into the segment, and I need to take the rest of what I'm about to say into the new segment. And whatever, it's been great. My name's Kayvon Izami. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. Having a great Saturday here. Breaking down all the games, breaking down all the NFL news before kickoff happens at 4:30 today. First game on slate. LA Rams heading to Lambeau Field. Green Bay, Wisconsin, taking on the Packers. Can't wait to see how things go. Packers should win that game. 7-point favorites according to Las Vegas. I think that the Rams should be able to keep it within 7 points, but wouldn't be surprised if the Packers blew them out either way. Now, I want to switch gears here for a little bit, and then we'll definitely talk more about the games. Don't worry, I know that's the big thing that everyone wants to talk about, and rightfully so. So we'll get into that in just a bit. We'll keep it going, but I want to switch gears here to what's going on around the NFL with hiring new coaches. You know, as of late, okay, and I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. If you look at the jobs that are open, the jobs that organizations need new head coaches, you have the New York Jets, you've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, all right, that you got the Detroit Lions. Okay, so that's 3 teams right there, and that I want to focus on mainly because you also have the Los Angeles Chargers and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I kind of put those 2 in a different boat, okay? And some of you might disagree with me on this, but for the most part, the Chargers and the Falcons have had some recent success. They've made the playoffs. They've had winning seasons. The Chargers 2 years ago were 12-4. The Falcons a couple years ago went to the Super Bowl, then went back to the playoffs for 3 years in a row. So they've had success. When you look at the Jaguars, the Jets, and the Lions, there really hasn't been much success. Now, the Jaguars, they had that one season of going, to the AFC Championship game with Blake Bortles in 2017. That clearly was just an outlier year, had a really good defense. Since then, they've completely fallen apart. And the Lions under Jim Caldwell actually did have some success. And when they fired him, that was one of the biggest mistakes they could have made because he had 3 winning seasons in his time there, and for some reason they thought they could hire someone else to take them from a 9-7, 10-6 team to a 13-3 or 12-4 team, and that just wasn't going to happen. And the Lions made a massive mistake by doing that, and that is why now that they have fired their coach and their GM, and they're looking to bring in a new coach and GM. But when you look at the Jets, the Jets, really, they haven't had any success at all since Rex Ryan was there when they had 2 years of going to the AFC Championship game. That was 2008, 2009-ish. So when you look at it, that was 2010 and 2011. That's right. They lost to the Colts in 2010, lost to the Steelers in 2011. So that about 10 years ago under Rex Ryan. So when you look at that, but really since then, they haven't had any recent success at all. So right now in the NFL, there's this stigma that you need to hire, especially on the offensive side of the ball, but overall, there's this stigma that you need to hire a specialist. Well, you say, what do you mean by that, Kayvon? It's like you need to hire someone that is a specialist that is really good at their one specific thing, either offense or defense, right? And majority of the time right now, the way the NFL is trending, it's offense, like Sean McVay, like Kyle Shanahan, right? That's what you're looking at. So you're looking at hiring people because they've had success. And the NFL, as we always say, is a copycat league. Right? So that's why the Cardinals go out and hire Cliff Kingsbury, someone who has literally had only head coaching experience in college, and he was never actually, his team in college at Texas Tech wasn't actually good. I mean, they were okay, but they never did anything special. But why did he get a job? Because he's an offensive genius, according to many, and he was going to get to coach a guy that he knows how to work with really well in Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray really liked Kingsbury. So, that they looked at it and they said, we want someone like McVay. We want someone like Shanahan. And they're really good at one thing. Now, McVay and Shanahan are outliers. I'm not saying that they're only good at offense and that's it. They happen to be very good coaches as well. I mean, we see it because both of them took their teams to the Super Bowl. That's a really good coach, but their specialty is on the offensive side of the ball. And that's kind of how you start, the Browns. The Browns, they go out and hire Kevin Stefanski to turn this offense around, to make all of those, to make Baker Mayfield, their young QB, work, right? To make that draft pick live up to its expectations. So you're seeing this trend, and it works for many. It really does. It works for the Rams. It looks like it's going to work out for the Browns. But sometimes owners and teams need to step back and take a deep breath. And they need to stop being so enamored with the shiny new toy. Okay? They need to stop being so enamored with what is happening right now in the league. And I get it. That sounds crazy, right? Because everyone thinks, Kayvon, if it's working with everyone else in the league, why would you not do that as well? Well, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, because there's not 100 McVays out there. There's not 100 Kyle Shanahan's out there. There's not 100 Kevin Stefanski's out there. If there was, then every team would be able to have one. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So when you can't get the shiny new toy, if you can't get the Sean McVay, you have to be able to step back and be disciplined enough to understand something. And what is that understanding that the Detroit Lions, the New York Jets, and the Jacksonville Jaguars need to understand? They need to understand that they are a losing franchise. And they don't need a specialist on offense to come in. They don't need a specialist on defense to come in. They don't need someone like that. They need a leader. They need someone that's going to come in here and look at the media and look at the camera and look at the football team and said, this culture that you've had for the last 10 years is done. It's over. We're bringing in a new culture. It's a new day. And it starts today. We get so caught up. We get so enamored by this shiny new offense and how special it can be if you get this offensive genius, when really sometimes you just need to find a leader. You just need to find someone that's going to change the culture, someone that is going to bring in, responsibility and bring in, really set expectations to each player and not let players fail those expectations. And if they do fail those expectations, they're not going to let them just slip on by for it. No, they're going to make sure they understand that they failed and that they're going to get punished for it, or they're going to have to work harder next time to achieve those goals. You just can't bring in someone that's an offensive specialist just because it's working out in LA. You can't do that because most likely you're not going to find another McVay. 1 out of 10, you might. You really might. But most likely, you're not. Because there's not that many McVays out there. McVay is a genius. There's not many geniuses out there. Okay? So when you have a franchise that is so just numb to losing, right? They're numb to it because it just happens all the time. It's not a shock anymore. That's just what it is. An offensive genius might come in and call better plays. It might look better on the field. But until someone comes in there and changes the culture and changes the leadership, the franchise is never going to change. Because what will happen is you'll have a couple of good years like Rex Ryan had with the Jets, and then eventually it will fizz out and it will go back to the same old New York Jets. You'll have a couple of good years like Doug Marrone had with the Jaguars, and then eventually it will fizz out and you'll trade away a lot of good players, and next thing you know, you're back to picking in the top 5 every single year. I'm not making this up. This is facts, guys. This is straight up facts. Go look at it. That is why the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars deserve an applause. They deserve a congratulations because this year they did it right. New York Jets fans, Jacksonville Jaguars fans, you guys got the right guys this time. You got the right guys. What do I mean? Jacksonville, you just hired a straight-up winner. Yes, he can be his specialty can be on the offensive side of the ball, but he's an all-around head coach in Urban Meyer, a guy who won at Bowling Green, the University of Bowling Green. Who does that? A guy that then went to Utah and lost a total of 2 games in Utah and had the number 1 overall draft pick in Alex Smith as his quarterback. Then he goes to Florida, he wins 2 national championships. Then he goes to Ohio State, and the first year at Ohio State, he goes undefeated, and then he wins 1 national championship at Ohio State. I mean, the guy has never lost. He's not a loser. He goes to these places, and he changes their culture. He fixes their culture. He's a football winner. He's going to bring a winning mentality to your organization. From day one, he is going to walk in there, and the entire presence is going to change. The entire aurora, the entire stigma of who you guys are is out the window and going to change because he's not going to allow that. He's just not going to allow that losing mentality. And then you look at the New York Jets, and you bring in a guy like Robert Saleh, who he's not going to get up there on his first day of the media, of his opening press conference, and his eyes are going to be all whacked out. He's going to be moving them all across the room like he's tripping on drugs. No, he's going to stare at that camera, and he's going to say, this is our football team, and we're going to do it my way, and we're going to change the way it is. He's a tough guy. He's a guy that everyone respects in the league, that players just rave about him. The New York Jets did it right. The Jacksonville Jaguars did it right. Like for the first time in a long time, this is the way to do it. And I see all these people out there complaining like, oh my gosh, the Jets should have went after Joe Brady, who I love Joe Brady. He's a great offensive mind. Or the Jets should have went after Arthur Smith, who I love Arthur Smith. I'm so glad the Falcons hired him. But the Falcons, that's good for them. The Jets, it's not. The Falcons they have all the pieces. They have a good culture. They have a good owner. They have all that stuff. They just haven't been able to win. They haven't been able to get over the hump. But they have a great culture. They just need the pieces to be pushed up to the level of where they are. The Jets, they don't have a good culture. The Jags, they don't have a good culture. And this is no disrespect to anyone in there already. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. And when you bring in someone like Robert Saleh, who is going to take onus, he is going to take responsibility. He is going to show up there and he's going to bring in credibility. He's going to bring in straight up facts of saying, this is what I did with the 49ers defense. This is what I could do with this Jets defense. He's going to stand in front of the camera and say, this loss is on me. I have to get this team better. And the players are going to respect him. The players are going to love him. They're going to go to war for him. I mean, this is such a great hire by the New York Jets. And it's such a great hire by the Jacksonville Jaguars. You guys brought in game changers. You guys brought in culture winners. Franchise builders. That's what you brought in. And I'm telling you, it is a massive, massive day for New York Jets and Jacksonville Jaguars fans. And hopefully the Detroit Lions can do the same thing. Hopefully they can. When you look at someone like the Los Angeles Chargers, that's a little bit different, right? Because Anthony Lynn, he's one of those leaders. He's one of those guys. He brought in a good culture. He set a good culture. He just wasn't able to win enough football games. He was in the beginning, you remember? And then things have changed. And now that they have a new young quarterback, they're going to bring in Brian Dable, who has learned from who? Sean McDermott. Guys, Sean McDermott, when he got hired in Buffalo, everyone was like, yeah, he was a good defensive coach for the Panthers, but what are we doing? And look at him. He has completely changed the culture. This was the most losing franchise out there. And he completely changed it. And now they're going to be playing for a chance to go to the AFC Championship game tonight. Sometimes, because of what we've seen in recent years with Sean McVay, with Kyle Shanahan, which is great, Rams fans, you have a culture changer. You have a winner. 49ers fans, I know, trust me, Kyle Shanahan was here. But guys, those are one in a million. You can't go out looking for that offensive genius in college just so he can come in there and fix Sam Darnold. No, because you know what? He might fix Sam Darnold. They might start to win games, but eventually, because of the Jets organization, they'll go back to who they were. You have to come in there that is going to change this culture for good. It's going to put responsibility on everyone. And that is what Robert Saleh and Urban Meyer are going to do. And that's why big props and congratulations to the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who got true winning coaches and game changers and culture changers for their head coaches, which is awesome. So, this is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. I just wanted to go through that real quick. I thought that's something really important to talk about. I saw a lot of people excited about it, and I also saw some criticism, and I just wanted to go through that because, look, it's true. The NFL is a copycat league, but sometimes you can really get yourself in trouble if you try and copycat too much, right? You got to just worry about your own organization and do what's best for your own organization first. That's what's key. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to finish off segment number 4. We're going to finish off the last segment of the show, breaking down some more football games of the Big 4 games going on this weekend. Can't wait. We'll be right back after this.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami, coming at you guys live from my office here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Wherever you are, whenever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for just letting us be a part of your day for a couple minutes, maybe an hour or so. You can always listen to parts of the show, come back, pick and choose your spots. We really do appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the show. You can listen to us on YouTube as well as all other podcast platforms. So thank you guys very, very much. Hope you guys are going to enjoy the show. What's your choice of beer? For all you out there that love beer, what's your choice of beer? Obviously, you better be of age. So if you're not, don't think about answering that question. But I'm a big Sierra Nevada person. I'm not someone that, will pound a lot of beers or anything like that during a game because I like to focus on the game and really watch the game in detail. But I do like to have a beer or two when I'm watching the game, and especially playoff games like this. And I love a good Sierra Nevada Pale Ale or IPA. If you can get one of those in me, that's the way to my heart right there. Give me a 6-pack of those. I love that. What's your choice of beer? Let me know at Kayvon_sports. At Kayvon_sports. That's what I want to hear or maybe just what's your choice? What's your favorite football food? Football playoff food or drink, right? Are you going straight to the beer or are you going to the nachos, the pizza, the wings? My mom got my dad for Christmas an air fryer. which, by the way, is amazing. I wasn't very sure of an air fryer, and once she got us that, we've been using it like crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is worth the investment. I don't know how much they are. My mom got it from my dad, but it is worth the investment, however much it is. It makes such good food, and you can make whatever you want in it. But anyways, we've been doing wings in the air fryer, and it's better for you because you don't have to put any oil on it or anything like that. And I kid you not, it tastes just like wings you'd get at a sports bar. It's crispy, and then you can put your own type of sauce on it. It was really good. Like, really, really good wings right there. There's no doubt about that. I was really loving that. So what's your favorite? Hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what's your favorite type of playoff football food. Are you a big nachos person? I got a friend, shout out Brendan Burns, huge nacho guy. Every time he lives out in Cincinnati, every single time that dude is watching a game or something, it's either wings or nachos. But he's a big nachos guy. I mean, he'll lather it up, cheese, chicken, beans, all that stuff. I love some nachos, but my problem is I'm not really going to take my time to make them. That's the thing. You can call me lazy. Whatever. Call me lazy. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But it's a lot to put in the nachos, and it's a lot to make the wings too. But I feel like you're investing yourself in a little bit more when you're doing the wings, right? Because the wings, it's the true flavor. It's a wing. It fills you up more. Nachos, you're just kind of doing like chips and dip. It doesn't really fill you up that much. I'm not hating on nachos. I love nachos. I'm just not going out of my way to make them as much. But my guy Brendan, he's a big nachos person. So let me know. What do you think? At GSMC_football is the company Twitter page. At Kayvon_sports is mine. Hit me up on Twitter. Again, my two favorites, Sierra Nevada, Pale Ale, IPA, whichever one. Though that's the way to go. That's my beer of choice. And then hit me up with some wings. Now, I'll tell you this. I'm a baby. I don't like the wings too hot, okay? Mild, chef's kiss. Give me that mild all day, baby. You put those damn hots in front of my face, well, we're going to have a problem. I do not want those hot. I don't want. You can call me a baby. You can say that I can't handle it. Whatever. I do not care. I'm not going to sit there and be miserable during a football game because my lips and my mouth are breathing fire. Okay, that's just not going to happen. I'm going to be much more relaxed because I had over there my mild wings. It got all over me, and I wiped it all off. And guess what? I'm not burning hot on fire. I'm not running to the bathroom at a sports bar and that's just not happening. Okay, so I've learned my lesson because I when I was younger, I thought I can't get mild. That's not cool. That's lame. So I would get the mediums. I'd get the hots. And then I would make a fool of myself because I'd be uncomfortable. I can't even enjoy the game. So I said, you know what? Screw what people think. I'm going with my milds. Sometimes I'll get a teriyaki or lemon pepper or something like that. But that's all I'm doing. Don't put those hots in front of my face. Don't. My dad, he loves the hot stuff. Give that to him all day. I didn't get those genes. My palate cannot handle the hot like that. So anyways, this is the GSMC football podcast. Hit me up on Twitter at GSMC_football, at Kayvon_sports. Let's see what your favorite football food is. All right, so lots of entertaining stuff going on today. Two major games today, 2 major games tomorrow. Today, Packers hosting the Rams, game 1. Bills-Ravens game 2, maybe one of the most entertaining games of the weekend. Then you got Chiefs-Browns game 3, and then to top it all off, you got Mr. Old versus Mr. Old, Mr. Tom Brady versus Mr. Drew Brees, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. All right, so great stuff ahead. Should be really an entertaining game for all, I think. I think every game has a chance to be close. I really do. I think every game could have a chance to go down to the wire. I think every team has a chance to win. I would say that the Browns probably had the least likely chance to win, but a lot of people thought that last week, including myself, and what did they do? They won. So Never going to count out the brownies anymore. It will be interesting to see what happens. If I had to make my picks, I think that at the end of the day, next week, tomorrow or Monday, we'll be seeing an NFC Championship game with the Packers versus the Bucs and an AFC Championship game with the Chiefs and the Ravens. That would be my pick. I would not put any money on those, though, because, again, I am not confident on any of that, okay? The only thing I would say is I'm pretty confident that the Packers will win, but I wouldn't bet on the spread because I don't know if they'll win by more than 7. Real quickly, I want to jump into this because we talked about last week how the Eagles fired Doug Peterson. And, I said that this was the right move. And I said for the last couple of weeks, if you've been listening to me, that Doug Peterson had to go. He was just not... He just wasn't being a proper football coach, whether it was with the media, with his team. There was too many mistakes, and I don't care that he won a Super Bowl. Some things you just got to move on from. And the Eagles decided to move on from him, but they kept their general manager, Howie Roseman. And I think he now becomes one of the first GMs ever to be able to withstand 3 different coaching hires and fires, right? What does that mean? It means usually when a coach gets fired, that GM will get let go too, or that GM will get one more tenure to hire another coach, stay it out with him, and if that coach ends up not working out, then both of those coach and the GM will go together. That's usually how it goes. Well, Howie Roseman has now had the chance to be with Andy Reid. Andy Reid gets fired, hires Chip Kelly, be with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly gets fired, hires Doug Peterson, be with Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson gets hired, and now he has the chance to hire someone else. Now, there's a lot of rumors out there. They're interviewing Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offensive coordinator. Look, whoever they are going to hire has to be someone that believes in Carson Wentz, okay? Because they're not changing Carson Wentz. They're not trading Carson Wentz. It's just not happening, okay? Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, he wants Carson Wentz. He loves Carson Wentz. He believes Carson Wentz can be a superstar, and so do I. I still haven't given up on Carson Wentz. He fully believes that. So he's going to want to bring someone in that really believes in Carson Wentz. But then it brings up the question, what are they going to do with Jalen Hurts? Because half of the problem was, and look, whatever, you could call Carson Wentz maybe mentally not as strong or something like that because him having a backup like that might have got to him. And that's totally fair. I mean, think about it. The guy has already had to deal with his backup winning the Super Bowl and seeing a statue, so forgive him that he then has a career year. He brings the Eagles all the way to the playoffs, and then what do the Eagles do? They go and take a quarterback, not just any quarterback, a Heisman finalist, a guy that's lost like a total of 4 games in 4 years in college, in Jalen Hurts in the second round. So now he was just spending all those times having to look over his shoulder at Nick Foles. Now he finally gets done with that, and guess what? He has to look over his shoulder with Jalen Hurts. That sucks, right? That sucks. Like, who wants to have to deal with that? No one does. So I think that they're going to end up having to trade Jalen Hurts and bring someone in that is ready to bring Carson Wentz back to full form, right? Bring someone else that is fully ready to get the skill set out of Carson Wentz, get the mental, he's upstairs, he's lacking confidence. He doesn't have as much self-confidence in himself as he used to. So you've got to switch that, you've got to bring that self-confidence back, and then you've got to bring that skill set out of him, right? So it's got to be someone that could do that. And we just talked about how I was applauding the Jets, the Jaguars so much for bringing someone in that can change the culture. And the Eagles are a little bit different situation. Their culture's a mess, so they need to change the culture as well. But they also really do need that specialist that can come in here and bring that out of Carson Wentz. They do. And the Eagles have had success, so they don't need to fully change their culture around like they haven't won in a while. They just need to bring someone in there that's a leader, but also knows how to pick the right buttons with Carson Wentz. Sometimes it's that simple. Being able to pull out the right strings with your franchise guy. Because you can't tell me that Carson Wentz doesn't have it. We've seen him. He's shown us that he can be a very good NFL player. He's shown us that he can be an MVP caliber NFL player. So you've got to bring a coach that can bring that out on him, right? That can bring that out of him. For instance, when he was at his MVP level, he was doing that with Frank Wright as his offensive coordinator. Now, Frank Wright left, and he didn't have that really good year last year without Frank Wright, but it seems like it was more of Frank Wright that was pulling the buttons than it was than Doug Peterson, right? That's what it feels like. That's what it seems like. So it makes you think, okay, well, who can you bring in that can pull those right buttons with Carson Wentz? Because you already paid Carson Wentz big money. Big money. So you got to let him be... You got to get that fixed. You have to get that fixed. It will be a huge fail for the organization if Carson Wentz's career in Philly just kind of ends this way. It can't happen that way, right? It can't. You've got to find a way to pull that MVP talent back out of Wentz, which we all know is there because we've seen it. So that's something that the Eagles need to do, right? And then how appealing is Doug Peterson on the open market? A lot of teams are looking for head coaches. There's a rumor out there that Seattle wants to bring in possibly or interview Doug Peterson for the offensive coordinator job. That doesn't make sense to me because what do we know out there in Seattle? What do we know out there? What do we know out there when it comes to what Pete Carroll loves to do? Run the ball. What did he say after the offseason, after they lost to the Rams and they headed into the offseason? He said, next year we need to get back to what we do best, running the football. Well, Doug Peterson ain't your guy if you're doing that. I mean, do we not remember everyone freaking out because Doug Peterson barely would run the ball with Miles Sanders, one of the best running backs in the league? I mean, he's just not someone that runs the ball. And when it comes to Doug Peterson, he's going to get another head coaching job. He will. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes you after, not just him, a lot of people in general, after you leave a job, if you have the financial ability, if you have the means to take a break for a little bit, it's good for you, right? It gives you a chance to look yourself in the mirror, understand what you did wrong, even if you don't want to admit that out to anyone else. Admit it to yourself. Some self-assistance, some self-monitoring. Like, look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, what did I do wrong? How did this go wrong? What did I mismanage? What happened here, right? That's the big thing that, like, if you look at you look at these experiences, like Rex Ryan after he was done with the Jets, he immediately right after that went to become the head coach at Buffalo, and that turned out terrible. Adam Gase, after he got fired from Miami, he immediately, right after that, the next year, became the head coach of the New York Jets. Neither of those situations worked out well at all. And I'm not saying Peterson is either of those guys, but with so much going on right now, and the way his players fell, and the way the season ended, it just feels like his best move is to take a year off, because he will get a job again. He is a Super Bowl winning coach, but sometimes taking that first job right away just isn't the best bet. When you look at Adam Gase, he went from Miami straight to the Jets, and he never took a year off. But there were things that Gase needed to fix what happened down in Miami. He gets a job immediately. There's no self-awareness. There's no looking in the mirror. There's no, that moment of clarity where you say maybe to yourself, but at least you recognize to you that maybe I've got to change a few things myself to try and make myself more appealing to my next employer. That never happened for Gase. That never happened for Rex Ryan. Now, that doesn't mean Peterson is definitely going to go that route, because even if you take a year off, it doesn't always mean it will work out. I mean, look at Mike McCarthy this year. Mike McCarthy took a year off, and all we heard was he was down in his basement, putting together analytics team, watching film, learning how to become a more modern coach, blah, blah, blah. Then he comes back this year and he looks like an awful coach. And I know there was a lot of disadvantages there for him because Dak got hurt and all that, but he just looked rusty. The bad game management, all that stuff. But so you never know. But overall, it seems like it's better to take a year off, have that self-awareness, have that moment of clarity, understand, especially with the way things ended. It's different if you've just been with an organization for 10, 15 years, and it's just kind of, you've had so much success with them. The last couple years haven't been great. It's just kind of time to bring in a new voice. That's different, because it's not like you're getting kicked out. It's just kind of like we're separating ways. This way, in Philly, it ended so bad that, he's not going to have time to think about how things got out of control like this. How did it go from winning the Super Bowl, making the playoffs last year, Carson Wentz having a really, really good season, to benching him halfway through the season and, then benching your rookie quarterback in the halfway point of your last game of the season, players getting mad at you. Like, how did all this come out? That's something that I think Doug Peterson needs to sit back and look at. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to us today. Have a great weekend of watching football. First game's up. We think the Packers will win. Second game, we think the Ravens will win, but would not be shocked at all if the Bills pull it out. Third game, the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, will beat the Cleveland Browns, and I think that it will be a high-scoring game, but at the end, they'll beat them pretty handily. And then the last game, the big time game. I'm going to go with the Bucs here. I don't know if the Bucs can pull it off because Sean Payton is a genius. He's a great head coach, and he knows exactly how to hit Brady where it hurts. He knows how to game plan against Brady. He showed us that the first two games they played this year. But can Brady punch back? Can Bruce Arians punch back? That's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to pick the Bucs, but I'm not very confident on it. Hopefully, Tom Brady, don't let me down. Pull through. I'm going to ride with you guys. If all that is correct, we'll have next week the Green Bay Packers taking on Tom Brady and the Bucs, Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, and then we'll have Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City versus Baltimore. Or we might have Kansas City versus Buffalo, and we might have Green Bay versus the Saints, or maybe the Browns will pull off another miracle, and it will be them going to take on Buffalo or Baltimore. We'll find out. We'll dissect it and talk about it all on Tuesday. You guys have a fantastic weekend. If your teams are playing, good luck to you guys. Enjoy it. Have your beers, have your nachos, have your pizza, have your wings. Hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what's your favorite food. We'll talk about it next week. Let me know your favorite beer. We'll talk about it next week. I'll read out your tweets next week. This is the GSMC. I want to thank all of you guys for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. The GSMC Football Podcast, as you all know, is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us out. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night and enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.